The other day, I was talking to someone and they said, I work from 9 till 9. I was like, wow, such long hours. And they said, well, what is the alternative, to sit at home? And today we'll be talking about alternatives. My name is Surprise.
And I'm Craig.
Can you shut up?
Wow, what brought about this discussion? And we'll link it back to dentistry like we do with all things. But Thomas Sowell, economist, philosopher, said something like economics is not the science of decisions, but the science of trade-offs. There's always trade-offs with any decision you make, whether it's choosing to start a business, whether it's choosing to work for someone. If you start your own business, you've got maximum flexibility, but you've got maximum responsibility. And so is everything else in life. What do you think?
I do agree. And in the same humorous way, as much as uh, regarding how many options you have, sometimes you only have bad options, and you have to choose the most comfortable or the most realistic out of all the evils there. So nobody wants to work 9 to 9. No one wants to work 12 hours in a day, but the alternative is starvation, homelessness, uh, health, and all of that. So what then do you choose? It's not ideal, but that's how it is. And again, it does link up into that. There is always a trade-off. And sometimes it might seem favorable or unfavorable, but you still have to make that choice.
Indeed. I've been spending a lot of time on Instagram and YouTube, and there's a whole group of people called holistic dentists. And honestly, I mean, no shade to them, but shade, but no shade, but shade. You know, they say stuff like, you know, root canals are bad, you know, and it's like, oh, root canals are bad. But then you ask them, like, what do you suggest people do? And I guess the alternative would be extract the tooth and put a ceramic implant. But listen to this logic, right? Extract a normal tooth that is part of your body, but just fill it up with something, and extract it to put something that's foreign in your body because that's poisonous, but nonetheless.
And in the same way, there are people who don't have the option of implants
Mhm.
or even fillings. It's like the clinic I did my ComServe in, uh, whether you had gum disease, a little cavity, uh, you have retained primary teeth and the permanent teeth are not in the right position, all the patients came in for an extraction. We basically had injections and pliers, so like also uh, hating on that person because they decided to remove a tooth
Mhm.
would be quite unjust because just how many options did they exactly have there?
Indeed. And that's why when we say what are the alternatives, it's not this is the right choice, but it's like given the choices you have,
Given the context.
the context,
Yeah.
the financial standing, environment, what options do you have? And when I did ComServe, I kind of felt bad sometimes extracting teeth that could be saved. But those people could not save them because, I mean, you have to go to a private dentist. I mean, those are not free. And if you go to the university, that is a very long list of people who want procedures as well. So if somebody opts to extract or has a tooth extracted or has a couple of teeth extracted and they had no other option, what were the alternatives? The only alternative, the only plan or solution to their problem was to extract those teeth.
Exactly. So I guess we can have two perspectives on this. The people who are on the outside looking at the person who is choosing some of these things, and also as you, as the person, uh, how can you make these choices? Uh, I would say, I don't know if the word fits, empathy, but basically as an outsider, instead of looking at person A, judging, uh, why don't you have teeth or why haven't you done so and so and so, or why didn't you just go see a dentist? Even for us as dentists, like, why don't you just come see a dentist? It's been 12 years, go get your cleaning and whatnot. But usually we aren't exactly aware of uh, all the circumstances that you could be in. And, I would be speaking out of ignorance and judging you, persecuting you for something that maybe I wouldn't be able to even survive, or in the same situation, I would probably make the same choices as you. And for the person who's in that situation, I think it's always best to try and explore all the alternatives that you do have, uh, and then make the one that is realistically applicable to your life, and just roll with it.
Indeed, and like outside of dentistry, that's why sometimes when um, you see people who have made choices that you don't agree with or you feel that are suboptimal, you really have to ask yourself, like, what choice did they have? I mean, sometimes it's it's a cool statement people make, when they say the world is your oyster. You can do anything you want.
Free will.
Free will. And it's great. I think it's great, but not everyone has that thinking and not everybody has access to that. And I feel, this is me, this is like how I feel. I feel how people treat people who have not been successful in life is a bit cruel, because success is a big, like, it's affected by so many things, besides your own input into the world. It's the decisions you were left with. If you are not so academically gifted and you finish matric and you're 18 years old, I know when I was 18 years old, I was dumb. I was so dumb. I was way dumb. And given the choices you have and all the alternatives you have, that's why sometimes people make the choices they make.
Yeah, I totally agree. My thought process just died because I was like, how dumb were you? Realized that just how dumb were you?
Quite
And then, like, yeah, it wiped out everything. I guess to some extent, I'm still relatively dumb. But go back to talking while I reset my brain.
rebooting.
Rebooting.
Like a Windows computer. It's there's always like loading. Yeah. And it always does that like when you're doing like a critical task. Like when you
And the printer as well.
Oh, I hate the printer.
Just when you need it.
When you need it, and it goes with the paper.
And when I get home, I'll be overthinking. I'll be thinking about everything. And right now, when it's needed, my brain is like, nope.
Yeah.
No.
So I think sometimes, when you see things that you don't agree with, because again, I am not defending any of this, but sometimes people will see stuff like, oh, because I watched the video, people in the Nike factory get paid $1 a day. And as much as it might seem like, what, ostentatious, like, oh, wow, Nike makes billions. But it's like, given the context of the country they in, those are some of the best jobs. In fact, here's something interesting. Sometimes those jobs that, again, this is just, to open your perspective, please, don't say you hyper capitalist in the comments. That would be cool. Comment.
Are you a hyper capitalist?
No, but I
Just
do.
a normal capitalist.
Yeah, I do believe, freedom of making money. I mean, people should be rewarded for taking risks. People, if you start a business, you should be able to get rewarded for that. There's nothing wrong with that, because it's not an easy endeavor to undertake. And although people will say, but business owner X sits all day and makes millions, whilst we could have had his employees make this. I mean, the reason why the employees are working there is because, given the choices they have, this is probably the best job they can have at that moment. At that moment.
Yeah.
And that's the key word.
That's the emphasis.
Yeah,
At that moment. Yeah, because like the same way when I bought my car after graduating, with like a ridiculous interest rate, and like after a few years, like 2 years, I was like regretting it a lot. Like, I shouldn't have bought that car. I should have stayed walking and I would have saved some money. But I guess in that moment, that was, with the knowledge I had, that was the best choice I could make.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And I think we've all have confronted that moment. Remember, you only have like your perspective of the world. You don't know like what's happening on the other side because you can't see the other side.
Mm.
You only know what's happening like within your own context. So when you make choices, you make them with limited information. So when I look and I wake up, I mean, to me, it's like my day is being a dentist. I'm not thinking I can be an astronaut, not because I can't, but those opportunities are not presenting themselves to me.
Yeah, it's like in this country with a high rate of unemployment, people would be like, but you can't just sit at home. Why don't you just become an entrepreneur, start a business? And like, eh, having started a business, it is expensive, no matter how cheap the business appears to be. But to create a sustainable business that will take care of you and your family and pay for the bills that we do have in the modern world, it is literally expensive to just get started. And so instead of judging the person who is sending like 20 CVs a week, or sitting at home or living with their parents, you just have to consider what options they currently have at that moment. It's not always that people aren't doing certain things or trying, because nobody chooses to have a miserable life in the morning. Like, yeah, I don't know how I'm going to mess up my life today. I don't know how I'm going to mess up my dental health today. I don't know how I'm going to like just create chaos today. Even with like the whole self-sabotage philosophy, it's not always intentional. Sometimes it's just like in that little chamber that you exist in, what can you do? What are the limitations that you have? And I saw this tweet, someone took a picture of traffic, and it's like, it's crazy. I'm just going home and there's just all these people here, and like driving bumper to bumper, and it makes me realize that there's actually people out there living life. And it seems like really easy to just like, of course there are other people living lives, but we always have this main character thing, and you forget that we just live in a society that is like interlinked in a way, and we all have different circumstances. Like, yeah, we're all going home, but then again, home is different for everyone. Like, some get home knowing that they're going to get abused. Some get home knowing that there's no food. Some get home knowing that, they just got a raise and they're going to extend the building. And then with the people who are going to extend the building, the different contractors, and some have renovated before, they know what to expect. Some have never done that. There's just way too many options, way too much information, way too many options. And at the same time, not enough options because of resources and just knowledge and experience.
You see, we went like super tangent,
Mm.
but I think I'll also bring it back to dentistry.
It's like,
I love it.
it's like you lost the plot.
No, this is what I want. You see, because now you get a broad perspective of when I talk about this. So, when you come here and you do a big procedure or go through a whole long form and you're like, but and I heard a patient, he said to me, "Ah, I won't do a root canal. These things,
They break.
they break within 8 years." But where you're sitting, what is the alternative? Because what is it like? Are you going to just extract all your teeth and not have teeth and not enjoy like, nice food? Like, have you tried to eat a burger with no teeth? Yeah, you've never, you've never. But those are the things like what do you suggest then? What do you suggest? Do you just leave it and let it decay? Well, that is an alternative you can explore,
Mhm.
but it's not a favorable one. So
Yeah,
yeah.
because in return, leaving it there might cause an infection, an abscess, and maybe even death. Or if not death, even worse than death, hospitalization
Indeed.
with that big bill. And that big bill is only going to give you fewer alternatives afterwards. Basically, whether you make a certain choice or you don't make a choice, life will make choices for you, and uh, consequences.
Indeed.
Now I don't even. Are we talking about alternatives or consequences?
I love
All
it.
seems
It's
interlinked
linked. It's
in a
like
way.
consequences and decision making and alternatives
And free will.
and free will. But
It's
there is,
not very free.
there is no free will.
There isn't.
It's a deterministic universe. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Because you gotta pay for your free will.
I'm joking. Oh yeah, you gotta pay for that, you know? So
Yeah.
I think better than judging, like you said, empathy. I think it's also for me as a person on the other side to be empathetic to people when they come in and to understand and try to relay the information in a way to say, this is the best, given the best technology we have today, this is the best we can do. And also in people's lives that you interact with, to have empathy when they fall on hard times or difficult situations because there was not much they could do.
Yeah. So although we could say for replacing missing teeth, the best option out there that we have right now is implants, right? But there's people with diabetes, people who maybe smoke, people with other conditions who just don't qualify for an implant. It just wouldn't work. And so they have to look at other alternatives. Could be a bridge. Do a count of how many times we said alternatives.
A lot.
Alternatively, you could, yeah, but basically, like even what seems to be the best